Yeah, there have been mass firings, the president said. But when you see reports of mass firings of law-abiding American citizens, Joe Biden told us, what you're really seeing is progress. You should celebrate. Think about that. No American president has ever made a statement like that, cheering the firing of law-abiding Americans in the multitudes. But Joe Biden did. He didn't even pause. He says things like that regularly. Now, that's fine if you're on Joe Biden's side, apparently. But what if Joe Biden was talking about you? What if he was talking about your livelihood, your career, the future of your family? How would you feel? We should consider that, because these are Americans he's talking about. And as we do consider that, think about what happened to air travel in America over the weekend. Southwest Airlines, you may have read this, one of our biggest carriers, all but shut down on Saturday and Sunday. The airline canceled thousands of flights. It threw the nation's famously efficient system of air travel into total chaos. It stranded countless travelers in airports. Again, you saw it on the news. The question is, how did this happen? Well, the official explanation came right away. It was bad weather on the eastern seaboard. There were thunderstorms. There were also unspecified issues with air traffic control, and all of that together forced Southwest Airlines, alone among airlines, to cancel its flights. That's what the company, Southwest Airlines, claimed. They claimed that in a statement to us today, a long statement. It's what many media outlets have repeated uncritically for the past 2 days. And yet we can tell you it is untrue. All of that is a lie. It's not what happened. We've spoken to several people with direct knowledge of what actually did happen. We can tell you that the shutdown of Southwest Airlines over the weekend was a direct consequence. It was a reaction to Joe Biden's vaccine mandates. It began last week when Gary Kelly, who's the CEO of Southwest, sent an internal memo to his employees declaring that per Joe Biden's directive, any Southwest employee who was not fully vaccinated by the 8th of December will be fired, canned, done right before Christmas. Now, this would include not simply pilots at Southwest and flight attendants, of course, but ramp workers, mechanics, dispatchers, schedulers, ticket agents, people from the top to the very bottom. Many thousands of people. Now, some unknown but apparently large number of these people have still not been vaccinated. Why is that? Well, many of them have already recovered from COVID. They have antibodies that offer them greater protection than any vaccine ever could.
Absolutely.
That's the science.
Science.
So they don't want the vaccine. Others have sincere religious objections.
Listen
they
to this.
object to the use of aborted fetal tissue in the
Yuck.
development of pharmaceuticals.
Yep.
So they don't want it. They believe it violates their faith.
Yep, sure does.
Still others have friends or co-workers or relatives who have suffered severe side effects from the vaccine, and therefore they are afraid to take it. That makes sense. Don't make fun of them. That's real. And yet others are taking a stand purely on principle. They believe that in a free country, politicians should never be allowed to force citizens to submit to medical treatment they don't want.
Yeah, no doubt, right?
These are Americans who grew up in a country where that fact was taken for granted. Everybody assumed it, and they want to preserve that country for their children. That's their motive.
Yes.
But whatever their various reasons, the unvaccinated employees of Southwest Airlines, the many of them, are decent, high-functioning Americans, and they have watched as their own government has dismissed them out of hand as criminals for reasons that don't even make sense. Consider the argument they're hearing from Joe Biden. You must get the shot for the sake of people who've already gotten the shot because the shots don't work well enough to protect the people who've already gotten them.
Yes, or they're
That's what
already
Joe
immune.
Biden and the entire American health establishment is telling them. So imagine making that argument to an airline pilot. Someone whose entire job is based on
Who's
logic.
intelligent. Yep.
It is utterly bewildering to them because it doesn't make sense. It's
Right.
just too unreasonable. Quote, I've flown military jets in 3 different war zones, one pilot told us this weekend. I have never lost sleep like this. The stress is beyond belief. It's dangerous.
Yep.
People are melting. So this weekend, in protest, a large number of Southwest pilots called out sick, and they effectively shut down their airline. And many of them, you should know, admire the company they work for. They love Southwest Airlines. But they felt they had no choice but to do this. Nobody was standing up for them. Not the United States Congress, which, by the way, has exempted itself from vaccine mandates.
Yep.
Not even their labor union, which exists and is paid to defend them. But they're not.
Right, they're not.
So in desperation, the pilots committed the most basic act of nonviolent civil disobedience, something we used to celebrate in this country. They stayed home.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at the same moment they decided to do this, a large group of air traffic controllers apparently reached the very same conclusion. An estimated 6,000 federal air traffic controllers have not yet received the Biden-mandated shot. That's nearly half of all air traffic controllers in this country. And they all, as federal employees, have until next month to submit or they will be fired.
Not
And
cool.
when they are fired, our
Not
air traffic
right.
control system, which is already dangerously short-staffed, ask anyone who works in it, will stop. It will cease completely just in time for the holidays. Now, once again, the controllers union has been no help to them. And once again, the media
Because
have
they're paid
aligned
off by the
Biden
Democrat
White House
crazy
to
leftist
vilify
party.
them,
Yeah.
not as people who are being persecuted as a matter of conscience, but as criminals. So on Saturday, apparently, they took action. The air traffic control headquarters in Jacksonville, Florida, known to all pilots as Jacksonville Center, shut down. This never happens. It didn't even happen when there was a fire at the Chicago Air Traffic Control Center. They managed to keep air traffic control going. But this weekend, Jacksonville Center shut down because there was simply no one to man it.
Good for
There's no
those
one there.
employees taking a stand.
The effects of
Good
this
for
were
them.
profound and they were immediate. Jacksonville Center controls the airspace in this country from Orlando to Raleigh, North Carolina, as well as far out over the Atlantic Ocean. That's one of the most crowded air routes in the world. Air traffic controllers in Atlanta watched as planes headed for South Florida rerouted west and wound up over the Mississippi River. That would be the world's longest detour. And for a moment, in the chaos, it became clear that Joe Biden is not the only person in this country who has power. It turns out there is a limit to how far you can push some Americans. So in that way, it might have been cast as an inspiring story, man against the machine. But the media had no interest in telling that story. In fact, some on the corporate left suggested the Southwest pilots had somehow committed what is known as an illegal job action, illegally not showing up for work, as if politicians have a right to force Americans to labor against their will.
Jeez.
Now, some of us had assumed that was a
on in
condition
this
you would recognize as the textbook definition of slavery, but no, it's illegal not to work, they told us. And then at least one outlet described what the pilots had done as, quote, domestic terrorism. Get to work immediately, wage earner, or you're Al-Qaeda. There were more cancellations at Southwest Airlines. They know that there will be more to come, and not just of airline flights. At least 2 Amtrak train routes in the Northeast were canceled over the weekend.
There you
go.
go.
So was a regularly scheduled car ferry.
Getting all the power they can. You guys voted for these people.
In all cases, the employees in question, who've been told to get the shot, did not show up. Were these also protests against the Biden shot mandates? We can't say for certain.
Biden promised not to do it, too. Liar in chief.
Because that's our future. Thousands and thousands of Americans, the best among us in many cases, will be stripped of their livelihoods, of their lives, by the Biden White House's mandates. This is not a small thing. As of tonight, more than 50,000 U.S. Marines still have not received the shot, as well as a large percentage of the Navy's SEAL teams. What will happen when these people are gone from the force? Who's going to protect this country? Who's going to protect our cities? In Seattle, to name just one example, the city is moving forward toward firing fully 40% of the entire police force over the Biden shot mandates. Good luck getting your emergency calls answered after that, and so on. Our hospitals, our schools, our national labs, scientists and researchers at Oak Ridge and Los Alamos, among others, all torn apart by a purge overseen by Susan Rice that has nothing whatsoever to do with public health and everything to do with the accumulation of political power. That is happening right now. Make no mistake. It will continue to happen unless good people work immediately to stop it. One of those good people is Joshua Yoder. He's a commercial airline pilot. He's co-founder of the U.S. Freedom Flyer.
You guys can finish watching that on YouTube if you want, but I'm flabbergasted that anybody is. Biden came out with a poll, or they came out with a poll on Biden saying that 31% of people in this country support him. Still, how? No, seriously, how? How is it possible he has 1%? Are people just not getting the news? Are these people just fine with Americans losing their jobs? I have natural immunity. I am not getting the vaccine, not because I'm an anti-vaxxer, but because there's no reason for me to get it, because there's no common sense in it. Why would I need to get a vaccine if what I have already is more, gives me more protection than the vaccine? Why do I need to do it? Get out of my business. Get out of my health. Anyway, good night, guys. Good night.